I am adjourning closed session. We are back from closed session at 6:14. In just a minute, we will get a report out from our city attorney. He gets his paperwork together. Thank you for your patience going beyond the 6 o'clock.
Okay, is this on? Yes? Okay, so the closed session agenda has 6 items. First one is public comments, obviously no reportable action on that. The second one was conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation adverse to MUFG Union Bank, consideration of initiating potential litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 sub D sub 4, one potential case. No reportable action was taken on this item. Item number 3, conference with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, city designated representative, city manager Todd Parton or his designee, police managers, police officers association, police sergeants, and there was no reportable action taken on that item. Item number 4, conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, sub D sub 1 and or sub 2 and or sub 3, workers' compensation case number COBM-0026. There was no reportable action taken on this matter. Number 5, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D1, Dove versus City of Beaumont, case number CV 1700831, JGBDTB. There was no reportable action taken. Item number 6, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 sub D sub 2, claim of James Gregg. And in this matter, there was a reportable action. We had a motion from Councilmember Lara, which was seconded by Councilmember White, and which was unanimously approved to reject the claim of James Gregg as item number 6 on the closed session agenda. And that's the end of the report out of closed session.
Thank you very much. Could I please have roll call for the regular session?
Councilmember Santos?
Here.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Councilmember Lara?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez?
Here.
Mayor Carroll?
Here. Do I have any actions on any adjustments to the agenda? And if not, we'll proceed with the pledge. No adjustments? Could we do the pledge, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have any conflict of interest disclosure from any council members? All right, thank you. We're going to move on to announcements and recognitions. This is DMV Donate Life California, the month for DMV Donate Life in California. And we have a proclamation. Do we
Can you
actually
swap and do the introduction of the police officer, and I'll get you the proclamation?
Okay, you want to do the police officer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Could we have the chief, please?
Evening, Mayor and Council. You know, we're always pleased to introduce our new staff members to you. He's definitely no stranger to you all. You've met him a few times, but to the public, I'll introduce him. This is Aiden Christofferson. He is a graduate of Beaumont High School, and in those formative years, he was a Boy Scout, a police explorer, and he attained the rank of Eagle Scout. And so I know we recognize him for that. In April 2012, he became an explorer with the police department. Then he became a sergeant and then an explorer captain, so he had leadership amongst his peers even at that young age. In May of 2016, he was hired by the Upland Police Department part-time as a police cadet. And then we hired him in 2017 as our first police cadet. And if you remember, the point of the cadets was to create a pool of talent internally. So as positions came open, we'd already vetted them and got to know them and knew they were a good fit for our community. And so we knew that right away with Aiden. And so we sent him into the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. In fact, he was the first trainee that the city has sponsored in at least 24 years to go through the Sheriff's Department from beginning to end. And so he just graduated about a week and a half ago, right? March 22nd? Yes, sir. And he just started on patrol, not yesterday, but the Monday before with his field training officer. And so I present to you Officer Aiden Christofferson.
I just want to say thank you to the City Council and Mayor. Definitely wouldn't have gone through the academy, been a cadet, been an explorer without obviously the approval of the city and the support of the city as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say there's something extra special when they come back to us and serve the community. They're knitted to the community from the time they're in high school, and we very much appreciate it. Thank you. Looking forward to that. We do have a proclamation, and I will read the proclamation, and this is DMV Donate Life California Month. Whereas organ, tissue, marrow, and blood donation are life-giving acts recognized worldwide as expressions of compassion to those in need. Whereas more than 115,000 individuals nationwide and more than 21,000 in California are currently on the National Organ Transplant waiting list, and on an average, 20 people die each day while waiting due to the shortage of donated organs. Whereas the need for donated organs is especially urgent in Hispanic and African American communities. Whereas more than 600,000 units of blood per year are needed to meet the need in California. Whereas at any given time, 6,000 patients are in need of volunteer marrow donors. Whereas a single individual's donation of the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestines can save up to 8 lives. Donation of tissue can save and heal the lives of up to 75 others. And a single blood donation can help 3 people in need. Whereas millions of lives each year are saved and healed by donors of organs, tissues, marrow, and blood. Whereas the spirit of giving and decision to donate are not restricted by age or medical condition. Whereas nearly 14 million Californians have signed up with the state-authorized Donate Life California Registry to ensure their wishes to be organ, eye, and tissue donors are honored. Whereas California residents can sign up with the Donate Life California Registry when applying for or renewing their driver's licenses or ID cards at the California Department of Motor Vehicles. Now, therefore, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of April to be DMV Donate Life California Month in the city of Beaumont, and in doing so, we encourage residents to check yes when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID card. Thank you. I'll move on to the public comment period for items not on the agenda. Any one person may address the City Council on any matter not on this agenda. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public comment form provided at the back table and give it to the city clerk. There is a 3-minute time limit on public comments. There will be no sharing or passing of time to another person. State law prohibits the council from discussing or taking actions brought up by your comments, but they are much appreciated. ask for any requests to speak now, please. Do we have some?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're first?
Time.
Oh, time, thank you. You guys have to buzz me for the time, all the conflict. It is 6:24. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome, ma'am.
First speaker is Sharon Hamilton.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Carroll. It's nice to be here tonight and be able to voice our opinion in a government that we're free to speak our minds. Anyway, I'm here regarding SB 54 and the California Sanctuary State legalizing state and local law enforcement from sharing any information with federal immigration authorities. It's pretty simple to me. According to the Constitution, the federal government wins in the case of conflicting legislation, and federal government regulates immigration law. The law is treasonous if we do not follow the federal law in this case. We cannot pick and choose which laws we decide to follow. The taxpayers pay taxes for all government services, including law enforcement, and it should be shared for the safety of the citizens. It's not about political party, it's about whether or not we're a country who follows law and order. Please join the lawsuit against this law and opt out of the sanctuary city status. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker is John Smith.
Hi, Mayor, City Council. I won't take a lot of time. I just wanted to say that I moved out here in 2001. No helicopters flying over, no gunshots in the distance. And this sanctuary city thing, I think it turned a lot of things around. I think it's a bad idea. I don't think it behooves us. And I don't think it's going to improve economically or anything else in this area. I just want to give you a heads up because I don't think it's a bright idea.
Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker is John Turner.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm John Turner. My wife and I have lived in Beaumont since 2006. We moved out of San Bernardino to find a better place and to provide a home for my mother-in-law who was coming to live with us. I am concerned about California's governance. SB 54, to me, is not the way to go. I encourage the City Council to opt out of this law by ordinance and protect the citizens of Beaumont by allowing the federal officials to comply with the Constitution and process illegal alien persons that may be passing through or even live in our city. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker is Glenn Stoll.
Yeah, Glenn Stoll. I've been in the area 50 years, Banning, Beaumont, and Cherry Valley. I spoke to you last 2 weeks ago. Since then, 3 cities have opted out, passed ordinances, and one of the county, Orange County. So there's an uprising going on right now in the state with the people. On September 4th, 2015, UC Berkeley Public Affairs published a report, an IGS poll. The Californians oppose sanctuary city policy, and that was 2015. 74% of the population opposed sanctuary cities, 73% Democrats, 82% Republicans, 71 independents. At that time, the radical left, is what I call them, in California decided to double down on their policy of sanctuary cities and push forward promoting illegal illegal aliens coming into the state. And they also decided to double down on the increase of crime in this state, which has led to the death of police officers, with some of the legislation that's come out of Sacramento and put on the ballot and laws that they've actually passed, reducing serious felonies to misdemeanors. And we're seeing an escalation in crime in this state as a result. They're doing the same thing in Europe with mass immigration from the Middle East, with refugees. And now they're doing the same thing here. They're attempting to do the same thing in the United States. And a matter of fact, it's in progress right now coming across Mexico. You're probably aware of the news. And it's leading to chaos in this state. Governor Brown just released or paroled, pardoned 5 felons in this state for the express purpose the ISIS, the federal government, deporting them out of this country. So he's actually working against the people of the state of California. And there's going to be an uprising by the citizens in this country. That's why, because of this policy, ignoring this, the reality of the people, we got a president in the United States that it ran against the Democratic Party and the Republican Party leadership. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker is Michael Rossiter.
Madam Mayor, City Council, greetings. My name is Mike Rossiter. I live at 1391 Quint Street in Beaumont. I'm a native-born Californian. I don't think that gives me any special privileges other than the fact that I'm a legal citizen. And that's what we're here about, is legal citizens, not illegal. We're also here because California's governor, in his extreme wisdom, if that's what you want to call it, helped promote and push SB 54, which is in violation of the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution, which all of you took an oath to defend. This gentleman here took an oath to defend. I took that very same oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, not defend or support the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, or the Libertarian Party. Any party. The Constitution. I took my oath in 1970. It has no expiration date. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker is Jeannie Rossiter.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members, and citizens of Beaumont. I'm here tonight to ask our City Council to officially place on their agenda on the next meeting an opt-out of SB 54. I want our city to be the first Riverside County city to do so. I want us to be a leader. Little tiny town of Los Alamitos in Orange County with only 12,000 citizens was the first city to opt out of SB 54. Since then, Michelle Steele, supervisor of Orange County Board of Supervisors, they have opted out. San Juan Capistrano and other cities are on the list to do so. This is a big tax issue for every resident in the state of California. And all you have to do is take a look at our overgrown homeless population that is absolutely out of control to know that money needs to be spent to fight homelessness, to help our seniors, our veterans, and not illegal aliens that do not have a right to enter this country illegally and expect to be supported. I am 100% for legal immigration, 100%. I've been to many ceremonies and I have supported all our legal immigrants. In 2014, AB 60 gave illegal aliens access to driver's license in California. This means that they can now legally sign up for benefits. The Department of Homeland Security released a report in the LA Times, Cato Institute, December 21st, 2017, that says 94% of all foreign-born inmates in our federal prisons are illegal aliens. 94%. We are paying that. 40% are drug traffickers. The millions of crimes of stealing Social Securities, identities, fake green cards, and other fake documents in California is not reported as a crime. There are no statistics. The crime is real. And if you've had your ID stolen, you know what a nightmare it is to clear your name because you are guilty until proven innocent. Stop illegal immigration. Let's have legal immigration. Let's support our legal citizens and our community and stop the influx. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Next speaker is Russell Roof.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Councilman. My name is Russell Roof. I belong to the Cherry Valley Banning Beaumont Tea Party. The situation of immigration is tearing California apart. We are a laughing stock for the whole world. We are supposed to be a nation of laws. We have people who are supposed to be our leaders in Sacramento who raised their right hand and put their left hand on the Bible and swore to uphold the law. They have violated that oath, and they have violated the confidence of the people who voted them in. They are rewarding people who break the laws, immigration laws. These people are being rewarded. The people like me and other law-abiding people, we are the criminals if we help ISIS or anyone else to turn these people in. I'm getting tired of it. I've been living in California since 1946. I've never seen it like this before. I am respectfully asking that each and every one of you take into deep consideration and follow the county of Orange County, also Los Alamitos and Escondido, and joining our federal government and our Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, in filing a lawsuit against the unlawful people up here in Sacramento. I respectfully request that you do that, and I just want to say that we have to stop allowing these people to do the things that they're doing to us. We have to start asking ourselves, why do we allow it? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker is Tracy Mahoney.
Hi. Thank you for listening to me tonight. I wanted to let you guys know that this is part of America. Not Mexico, not El Salvador, not Guatemala, no other country but America. Each and every single one of you swore an oath to this country to obey the laws. If you do not vote to opt out, then each and every one of you are personally responsible for treason and breaking the law. That's the main thing of this country. We follow laws here. We're not a third world country where they can do whatever they want. And the reason everyone wants to come here is because we follow laws. And as citizens, we expect to get certain benefits from it. Not to be freeloaders, not to do anything, just follow the law. There's nothing wrong with people waiting their turn. I imagine everyone that got their license at 16 had to wait till they were 16. They didn't go at 14 and get it because they wanted to and break the law. There is a reason we have laws. I work with a lot of people from Thailand, from Vietnam, from Korea, from Singapore. They have waited their turns. They are citizens now. Maybe green card holders at first, but they waited their turn in their own country for the 5 years it took, spent all the money that they had to spend to become citizens, and were naturalized. There's nothing wrong with following our laws. Again, each and every one of you are responsible for obeying the U.S. Constitution, not California, U.S. Constitution. And everyone knows, like the gentleman said, U.S. Constitution and federal law supersede or trumps California law. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker is Sylvia Carrillo.
Buenas tardes. Good evening for those of you that don't only speak one language. My name is Sylvia Carrillo. I am native Californian. I have lived in Cherry Valley for 15 years. I am of Aztec descent. I am native Californian. My family has been born, I have family born on both sides of the border. before there were borders. My people have lived on this continent for centuries, and they still live here on both sides of the border. Mexicans pay for taxes, even illegal taxes, and they don't get tax returns back, for those of you that don't know that. Ignoring state law will cause discrimination versus the Mexican people. Provide better immigration reform. Stop prisons for profit imprisoning blacks and Latinos. Truth is, Mexicans immigrating to the United States is down, for those of you that don't read or listen to real news. And those of you that don't listen to real news either probably don't know that Trump is the laughingstock of the world, as he is being investigated by FBI.
Thank you for your comments.
Last speaker is David Borland.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to join the others in asking for your opposition to opt out of SB 54. Just like to say a quick little something of, we know that we have the AB 109, Props 47, Props 57. They're already putting us in a pretty rough spot, you know, on part of Governor Brown's regime. I think it's going to be hard to, you know, take care of that with illegals on top of that. So I'd just like to politely ask that you opt out. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
No other speakers.
Thank you very much. I will close the public comment period now at 6:40. Consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are taken as one action item unless an item is pulled for further discussion here or at the end of action items. Approval of all ordinances and resolutions are to be read by title only. Do I have any requests for any items to be pulled?
Mr. Mayor, I need item 3 pulled.
3?
Yes, ma'am.
Any others? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the other items?
I move to approve item 2, 4, and 5 on the consent calendar.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Vote, please.
Councilmember Santos,
Yes.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Lara,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Carroll.
Yes. Item 3.
Yeah, Mayor, the reason I needed item 3 pulled is I was out sick on 3/6 of 2018, so I need to abstain from that. I'm okay with everything else on that item.
Okay. So
I move to approve item number 3 on the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Santos,
Yes.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Lara,
Yes for the 2 meetings and abstain on the meeting for the 6th. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Carroll.
Yes. Thank you. Item 6. Item 6, we are to open the public hearing. I will open the public hearing and then we'll begin the staff report right after I open the public hearing. Is that all right, Nicole, or would you prefer the staff report first?
So item number 6, we did post a public hearing to be held tonight. However, since then, the item has been withdrawn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If
I didn't
there's anybody
notice it yet. I
that wants to
apologize.
speak on it, they can.
Okay, thank you.
However, I don't have any requests for it.
I did know that. I just totally forgot about that. All right, so we are moving on to Amr.
Yes.
Would you like to go ahead?
Mayor, thank you, Mayor, council members.
Excuse me, Mayor, before we begin this, I'm going to recuse myself. I want to read a real quick statement from the FPPC regarding this issue. There is part of the contract in here that does reference a software that my company makes. My understanding is we've had this license, or a license, with the company for 20 years, long before I got on council. But when this has come up in the past, I went to the FPPC to get advice on whether or not I could speak to it. So I want to read a real quick note from them. For purpose of disqualification under the Political Reform Act, the rules are a little more complex. Assuming you have no ownership in ESRI or commission income from a customer of ESRI, which I don't. I probably wouldn't be here tonight if I was an owner of ESRI. You are not prohibited from taking part in any city decision based merely upon the fact that a party in the proceeding is a customer of ESRI. However, you may be disqualified from taking part in a city decision if a party in the proceeding is a customer of ESRI and there will be a reasonably foreseeable financial effect on ESRI. I don't believe in this case there would be, but for sake of just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and recuse myself from this item.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that clarification.
Mayor, actually, I think that was item 7.
Item 7.
6.
Yeah.
It's, my numbers are off. It is
No.
now
That's item number 7.
7.
Okay, I'll save that for, you're not going to make me do it again, are you?
It was such a good speech. It was a good speech. We need to hear that again. Encore.
So what item are we on?
Item 6.
Actually, action item 6.
Which item was pulled?
Nothing.
The public hearing for the recordation of the track map 31470-3 was
Got it.
withdrawn.
Honorable
So
Mayor,
hold
Council
tight.
members, so we are on item number 6, which is authorization of to record notice of completion for Oak Valley Parkway and Xenia Avenue Street Improvement Project. So this project was awarded by Council on August 1 of 2017 for the amount of $1,089,000. The project came in at $940,224, mostly due to deletion of some of the work on Oak Valley Parkway that was added to a different project. Both of these projects have been completed, and we are ready to finalize and submit the notice of completion. That concludes my staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Amr. Do we have any public comments on this item?
We do not.
Okay. Thank you very much. Council members.
Mayor, I'd like to approve item number 6, or move to approve item number 6.
I have a quick questions
Okay.
on item number 6.
Yes, Councilman.
On here, I know you have this for public purposes on this. Do we have any cost breakdown on this, completion projects? The cost for the both project came in at $940,224. The cost breakdown by each project, I don't have that as part of this report, but I can send it to you if you need to look at that.
Okay.
It's by Xenia and by Oak Valley.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You all set?
Well,
All right, thank you.
Here, just a quick question since he's
Sure.
up here. So are we still receiving invoices? Because it says we're waiting the final accounting. So is it pretty much finalized? Because we're down 148,000, and I'm just wondering if we're gonna possibly still use that amount up.
So we are not going to receive final invoices beyond the 940. We do hold retention back from the contractor as procedure is to hold a little bit of the money back in case they haven't paid one of their subs. And there's a 30-day period after the notice of recordation is filed with the county. So if somebody hasn't been paid, they can challenge and get that money. But once that's done, the total cost will be 940. There isn't any other invoices for this.
Okay.
Well, actually, a little correction. The contract amount for all the work was $1,089,000. So we've spent about $940,000 to date. There's about $24,000 that's left in retainage right now. So based on final walkthrough of that.
So we're still, we had 140,000 difference, so we're still, even with the 24, we're still up a little bit.
You're still below. So we double checked the books as of today, and from the time that we generated this report, there's been no additional payments made to the contractor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion if we're through with comment.
Councilmember Santos?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez?
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes. Item 7, and we are,
Now I should leave?
recusing Councilmember White, who's very eager to leave us. Okay. Report from staff.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. In June 2016, City Council authorized the award of contract for Geographic Information System, GIS services, to Interwest Consulting Group, subject to City Attorney making non-substantive changes. The council did approve a one-year extension on May 16, 2017. Staff has had no issues with the work to date and is recommending you approve a one-year extension for these services to Interwest Consulting Group in an amount not to exceed $150,000. Can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Do we have any public comments on this item?
No requests to speak.
All right, thank you. Questions from council?
I do have a question, actually. Just remind me on the difference between our renewals and extensions and our RFPs and so forth. So we do a lot of extensions. Is it because of the contract services versus consultants versus public works? I'm still a little confused on when we're extending and when we're calling out.
Yeah, absolutely. The original policy of council was to do a one-year initial contract. We have since changed that to a 3-year. However, this original RFP that was awarded was under the one-year term per council policy. So I believe you guys have the ability to authorize up to a total of 5 years, but we come back each year to review their services and see if council wants to renew or go back out to a new RFP for proposal for services.
Okay, and this one was under the old, that's what it was for.
That's why we're on our third one-year contract, because it wasn't under an original 3-year proposal, correct?
Perfect. Okay, that's all.
And there are no changes to pricing going forward, and you are completely satisfied with where we are at this point?
That is correct. Their hourly rates are staying the same under this contract. They cannot change them without approval and coming back to council. And we are happy with the services they are providing. They're very responsive, and they are working with staff to make additional enhancements over the time as things come up to create more layers and more information available to the public.
Thank you. I will, any more questions?
Rebecca, did you say this is the third?
Correct. So, no, so June was the original 1 year, and then May would be the 2nd year. This would be the 3rd year that you would be authorizing.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's a second amendment or second extension, but this would be for 3. This would total 3 years if approved.
Any other questions from council? I will make a motion to approve a 1-year extension for Geographic Information Systems, GIS services, with Interwest Consulting Group in the amount not to exceed $150,000.
I'll second.
Councilmember Santos?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez?
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes. City Manager, would you get our other council member up? Thank you. Thank you. Item 8. Report by staff. Mr.
Thank you, Mayor and
Warsinski.
Council. Tonight, in front of you is the award for professional service agreement for state and federal lobbyist services to Townsend Public Affairs. So in December of 2017, Beaumont published a request for proposals soliciting professional lobbyist services at the state and federal level. The proposal actually asked firms that provided one of those two services or both of those services to submit a proposal, and we would grade them accordingly. On January 25th of 2018, we received 9 proposals. Of those 9 firms, 4 provided state only, 3 provided federal only, and of the 9, 2 firms actually provide both state and federal lobbyist services. A panel of 4 individuals comprised of 3 staff and 1 representative from RCTC reviewed and evaluated the proposals. After those scores, we set up interviews with the top 3 firms, and the top 3 were the highest for state, the highest for federal, and the highest firm that proposed on both services combined. Based on the evaluation process and the results of the interviews, staff determined that Townsend Public Affairs was the best qualified firm to provide the requested services and negotiated a contract term and price. The firm does provide both state and federal lobby services as well as grant writing services to their clients. A detailed description of those services to be performed under their contract are detailed within the attached cost proposal. I went ahead and produced the fiscal impact, which would get us through the end of fiscal year 2017-18, through the entire year of 18-19, 19-20, and 2021. So staff is recommending a 3-year contract plus a little bit to get us to the end of this fiscal year, and that is moving with staff's philosophy and policy of trying to line up all of our contracts around the fiscal year versus bringing back contracts every single month around the year. So we're trying to line them all up, and we're trying to line those all up on the fiscal year basis. So that's why you see a very weird monthly contract, but we're trying to go with a 3-year, we're just lining it up with the fiscal year. So the not to exceed contract amount is $156,000. That is for that entire 39-month term. It's representative of $4,000 per month retainer, and that's for, like I said, state, federal, and grant writing services to be provided by Townsend Public Affairs. You can see the detailed list of the services that they're proposing and what is included in their retainer. And as one of the fun interview questions, we asked, okay, we understand what's included in the retainer. What types of services do your firm provide or will be able to provide us that is not included in the retainer and is extra? And they responded with nothing. Every single service they provide is included in the retainer, and there are no extra costs on top of that. So we were happy with that response. As you can see, the description of services is as easy as just analyzing and monitoring legislation, reviewing bills, all the way to drafting bill language, lobbying on those bills or effective bills at the state and federal level on behalf of the city, setting up meetings, funding opportunities. They will go ahead and find funding opportunities, present them to the city. They will begin to understand the city's needs in terms of our large projects and our general fund operating costs, and try to line up funding opportunities at the state and federal level with the city's priorities, as well as actually fill out the grants with our technical expertise. What else do I have? Townsend did provide you a little snippet of their PowerPoint presentation that they gave us in their proposal, so each of the council members have that if you want to look through it, or you already have done so. The gentleman from Townsend Public Affairs is here, and his name is Richard Harmon. He's the senior director of the firm, and he's here to answer any questions of the firm that I may not be able to answer. And staff does recommend that City Council award the professional services agreement not to exceed $156,000 for state and federal lobbyist services and grant writing services to Townsend Public Affairs. And I can answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Probably a little bit of additional information and background for council is that prior to the city's economic crisis, the city was carrying 2 other independent consultants that handled independently the federal level and the state level. So David Church was handling your federal level services at $5,000 a month, and then your state level was Gonzalez. What's Gonzalez's first name?
It's under the father, which is now the grandfather of the gentleman that run it, but it's Joe A. Gonzalez and Sons is the firm name.
And you're paying $36,000 a year for that. So combined, you're paying $96,000 a year, or $8,000 a month for the combined services. So what you have proposed here is significantly less cost than what you had before. You don't have the same level of presence in Washington that you did with the other firm. But anyway, so I just want to put that into context in terms of what your contracts were, what you're paying before, and to put that in the context of what this contract looks like for you today.
Thank you. Do we have public comment?
No request to speak.
All right, thank you. Council members, questions? Santos, do you have questions?
My question is, thank you, Mayor. On this, on this lobbying, do we give them what to lobby? I know you mentioned that, whatever is available on the, on the state level and the federal level, they will work on it. Does it really the one we needed? I mean, or they will give us a proposal on that?
What we'll do is, if the contract's awarded, we'll set up a series of kickoff meetings with each of the major departments, as well as probably city council. And that way Townsend will understand what each department needs are, and what projects they're working on, and what bills that they're currently analyzing for their other clients actually affect the city of Beaumont versus California or the entire United States of America. So they're going to tailor their services to what our needs are based on meetings with staff as well as city council.
Okay, very good.
I'm going to ask council, would you like to have Mr. Harmon come up and introduce himself before we continue with questions, or would you like to just continue with questions?
I have a couple of questions for Mr. Harmon.
All right. Okay. Well, then we'll just, all right, go ahead, Mr. Harmon. I recognize you from your picture on the presentation. It's nice to meet you in person.
Same.
The picture does look like you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Richard Harmon with Townsend Public Affairs, and I'm happy to answer questions, provide you any information you need. I'm an advocate, so I like to talk. So you may want to start the clock, but whatever questions you have for me, happy to answer them.
Okay. Do you have some for Mr. Townsend?
Can I follow up on that, questions on that? I mean, do you provide us a list that after all the, all the due diligence that you'll be working and find out that, what we need, do you provide us all those lists, and then, the council could do a review and approval on that?
So we do. So I'll separate it just a little bit to talk about the state as opposed to federal legislation, just because federal legislation, even though sort of the framework is the same, operates on much longer time frames, so there's key differences. But at the state level, as you know, each year in the 2-year session, they introduce bills. And so there's a little bit more time certainty. So we've already worked to provide we're still early in the year, a fairly comprehensive list of issues that we are working on, either with the League of California Cities or with other cities or levels of government. I say it's a long list now because early on they introduced a lot of placeholder legislation that doesn't have a lot of meat to it. So it's in a realm where it could impact the city, but as they narrow that down as the year goes on, they come off the list. So I provided that initial list, and clearly we work with the League as a partner, strengthen numbers. So definitely as the League starts taking additional positions on legislation, we'll work with them and say, hey, this might be something that affects City of Beaumont, bring that back for a position or a discussion. So that's kind of how we get that ball rolling. So you will have something, and we've provided sort of initial one, but it's a lot of heavy reading right now. But we do provide that, and we provide direction on which ones we think, we may want to take a position on. Some that, we'll explain why maybe we don't want to take a position on a certain bill, that we want to wait because we know they're going to change it, et cetera.
Very good. Thank you. I mean, you answered my third question, cooperating with the League. That's good. Thank you.
Councilmember Lara?
Just one of the questions is, how successful are you on obtaining grants? I mean, one of the things that I look at is money in return to the city for their investment, obviously, so.
Absolutely. So I know in the presentation, there's some summary charts, and we also have some, we actually have it line itemed out. So president of our firm, Christopher Townsend, since he started the firm 20 years ago, has tallied all the grants, nothing formula, just competitive grants, congressional earmarks, everything that we've secured as a firm, which is well over $1 billion at this point for our public agency clients. We have that line item, and it's about 30 pages or so, and we're happy to also provide that so you can see what sorts of grants we go after. So we've had a lot of success, and one of the best things about at least starting with a good length of a contract is because with grants and projects, sometimes they take time. A grant cycle, especially now with SB1, some of those funds, they're on 2-year grant cycles. So you can apply for like active transportation this year, If you're not successful or you have another project come up, there won't be another cycle of that program for 2 more years. And that's probably the biggest learning curve, or the steepest curve we have, especially with a new client, is that first year you want to show success. You're just salivating, wanting to show success. But one of the key grant programs may not be even soliciting that year, or the project may not be developed to a point. So we do have a detailed list that will provide more detail. Happy to provide that. They've run the range of, I think, every policy area, from education to transportation to water. Sort of our model is each of the team members sort of has a specialty. So I do a lot of the transportation work, having worked for Governor Schwarzenegger as his transportation deputy. So we'll work with the staff at those agencies. So literally, if we were going to apply for an active transportation program grant, we would be up there talking to the California Transportation Commission with the delegation about the project, the benefits, who it's going to impact, et cetera, what we want to propose, get some initial feedback, put the application together. If we're not successful, there's debriefings that go on. So a very thorough process on the grants.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I have, Mayor.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yeah, so you answered one of the questions I had. It was about the length of the contract. I didn't know if it was tied to price or not, but it makes sense the way you answered that, so I appreciate that. And the grant writing model, or inclusion of that, is very important to me. And the reason for that also is that you can explain to the public why a small city would want to make such a large investment in a lobbyist. Sure. And can you just very briefly?
Absolutely.
You kind of did.
I'll make one small point on the contract. I think, as probably with many of your contracts, I know with all of our contracts, there's always a 30-day out. Like if at any point the relationship's not working or for whatever reason. So it might be a long contract, but you know, there's outs for everybody. In terms of the value, I think just last year, I mean, we heard it tonight about sanctuary state legislation. There was legislation related to the wireless industry that we were very much opposed to, that would have allowed wireless companies to come into cities and basically put up devices for the 5G cellular network. And I'm sure you heard about it. It was kind of hard to hide from that issue last year. But there were impacts on how much of the cost cities could recover from that. So I think when the public looks at bills such as that one, or other such as housing bills that would remove some local authority in decision-making and approval processes, those are real impacts that affect residents up and down the state.
And how about transportation funding? That seems to be a big issue here.
Certainly. And last year, of course, was a big year with Senate Bill 1. And that was something in the works for a long time. I know there's some opposition out there to increase taxes, but I think given the time that was worked on that bill, something was put together that had accountability built in. There was direction for where those funds were going to go in terms of local streets and roads for the most part. So I think there was a lot of protections put into that took a lot of work and a lot of input from local governments on what they would like to see.
Now, that's all in general, which is great, but how about Beaumont itself? I mean, going out and looking at maybe funding like we did for the Potrero Phase 1 or so.
Oh, absolutely. Senate Bill and Senate Bill 1 is providing key programs such as the Trade Corridors program. That is, I know other cities up and down the 10, the 60 are looking at for interchange projects, either just rehabilitations or even new projects. There is the local partnership program where if the city is able to bring half of the project cost, they can apply to the state for the other half of that. So there, between those and then the active transportation program, I gotta imagine with your schools, there's always need for improved infrastructure so students can walk or bike safely to schools. And all of that is direct funding that's available for the city.
And my last question concerns the according to the description of services, you say coordinate advocacy trips, but I don't see anywhere where you're billing for the actual trip. So that's the actual trips included.
So we won't buy your airplane tickets.
What? No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking from your point of view. I mean,
no. Advocacy trips
in the lobby.
They are key for not only the legislation, but also on the grants. We've done it with cities where we go for 2 days in Sacramento, and we meet with every agency that we possibly are going to apply for funds, talk to them about projects. So we've done it both on grant writing and legislation, both in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. particularly in DC, we try to build that onto, you know, if it's National League of Cities or some other occasion that you have a council member or staff going back to DC, how do we build on like one day, either before or after, where we can sit down and do some actual city-specific meetings back there. Same thing in Sacramento, if you're going up for the league conference or any of the action days, can we carve some time out and actually go in, and not just meet with our legislators, go talk to a couple agencies. Do you have an issue? Do you have an issue with finance? Do you have an issue with Caltrans? And yeah, we have a large team. Even in DC, I mean, we have, I think 2 of our clients are Big 10 cities in the state, and we provide all of their federal advocacy. So I think we have a robust program out there.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and then jump over to you, if that's okay.
Sure.
I have some questions. What kind of reporting do you do back to the city? Do you do an every 6 months report that the city would then go ahead and advise the council on your progress, or what is your reporting? So
Totally at the desire of whatever of council and staff in terms of reporting. Usually this is how we work. I often do early Monday morning. Staff is getting the legislative matrix that we just discussed earlier, the list of the bills, sort of we're following an updated one. So that comes across. And usually in that Monday morning email, I'll hit sort of anything that kind of happened at the end of the week, Sacramento, DC, and then anything that's coming up, you know, hey, we have our hearing on X bill this Thursday, et cetera, or the governor's going to release his May revised budget this Thursday. Here's what we're expecting to see. So it's kind of a quick hit on Monday mornings, not to overwhelm anybody that early in the week. So I usually do that on Monday mornings, weekly, and then I'll do a monthly report that comes at the end of the month that covers the state and federal, covers upcoming grant programs. So that's usually done the monthly. And I would say most clients I work with, that's sort of the process. But then during the week, as there's different issues we're working on, there's lots of little updates during the week. But in terms of formal reporting, and then coming back to council, you know, I have some clients, I'll do an annual summary at the end of the year. Others, I'll do a look ahead presentation once a year. There's others, I'm down there almost once a month, providing some sort of an update for council. Usually there's multiple issues going on, but as frequently as you'd like me to be here in person or one of our team, we're here.
Okay, thank you. And you've got a couple of items on this matrix, and I'm going to ask you what they mean, if you could, please.
Sure.
One is clear accountabilities. It sounds really good. Could you tell me what that is?
I think that actually goes back to the reporting. I mean,
is that what you consider as the backbone of it?
Yeah, I mean, or that's what I'm thinking as the backbone of the accountability. You're able to look either on a month or on a week, on a monthly for sure, because there's a much thorough report, but even on a weekly basis. Hey, I mean, we were talking last week about this hearing that was coming up. What was the resolution on that? What came out of it? Hey, you can look back at the weekly report, the weekly little update, and say, oh yeah, that's right, that's what happened. Okay. So that's kind of what comes to mind, but if you were thinking of something.
Well, no, I was just wondering if we have 1 year, 2 year, 3 year goals that we hope that lobbying helps us with, you know, do you end up measuring those also?
Sure. We do. So at the end of the legislative year, we'll usually do sort of the wrap up and look at everything that we had a position on. Or maybe we're just watching closely but didn't take a position on, and come back, and that's usually when it's like before council to talk about what happened. Some cities will have legislation that they're actively sponsoring to want to make sure it gets through, and it's maybe specific to their city. So in that instance, there would be clear accountability. You know, did the bill get approved? Did it get signed? Okay. If not, why not? And we're here in person discussing that.
Okay, and that would be maybe also with funding opportunities. You would match that up to our goals, right?
We have a few clients, they'll like a quarterly update, and that'll cover a lot of the grants work. Like quarterly, hey, what other grants have come out? Are we pursuing it? Because it also helps with staff making sure we're looking at the right projects, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. And what challenges do you see at the federal level for us being a city from California, and there are some friction points on the federal level.
For the state as a whole, there are going to be a lot of challenges. I mean, the stance that both the governor of this state and the president have taken on several issues already, the lawsuits that are being filed by both sides, creates a hostile relationship between the two. So if there is a way that, the federal government doesn't have to give California something, it likely won't. We saw that with the Tiger grants, which are large transportation infrastructure grants. Usually California would get 3 each cycle. This year they got 1. They're discretionary. But that's California as a whole. We like to work closely with your congressional representative, even if they're not of the same party, and look at what does this city need? Is it a grant program? Because, any sort of hostility is not going to apply at that granular a level. It's going to be more of the statewide. So we like to work with local representatives, other representatives in the state who may have an interest in that issue and want to help push that issue. But it's going to be a difficult time for state funding, for funding programs that come from the federal government, where there's any discretion in what the federal government can give to California.
That's probably where your relationships make a difference.
And it's already been proven in court that there are some programs with some of the law enforcement that past precedence has been you can't cut some of those programs. And I know there's still lawsuits out there, but there is some precedence where some of that won't be cut.
All right, thank you. Councilmember White?
Okay, you're right, there's a 20-day termination clause in our contract with you. You talk about coordinating with other entities with similar legislative objectives. Are you working for any other agencies local?
Locally, let's see, I'll start with Riverside County. We work with a recreation district out in the Coachella Valley, Desert Recreation District. We do some funding work for the city of Moreno Valley. They have the Gonzalez as their lobbyist, so we just look at some different projects that they have. We do the lobbying for the city of Hesperia up in San Bernardino County. In the past, we've worked with Palm Springs, San Jacinto in the past. They're not current clients. But I think regionally, we have them. Then if you get over to LA County or Orange County, there's more. But in this region, that's it, unless you want to go to Imperial County. Then we do the county of Imperial.
Okay. And you mentioned Gonzalez as working with Moreno Valley. They do their federal?
They do their state.
Their state, okay.
They just do state.
So the city manager had made a comment about a different level at the federal government than what we were paying, double what we're paying for now. So can you comment on the level of federal government representation we'll get?
I don't know what was being provided by the other firm.
Sure.
But as I mentioned earlier, we do work with a couple of the Big Ten cities in the state and provide them their federal advocacy. And so far, we've been providing that for years. I probably have a half dozen of my clients that we do federal work as well. I'm back there probably myself 3 times every spring. We have two members of our team back there, but we had the U.S. Conference of Mayors this January, and we had several cities that were going back as part of several mayors that were going back as part of that. So I think 3 of us who were the actual client managers here in California went out there for the week because we did the same thing. We piggybacked meetings for those mayors on different issues while we were back there.
Okay.
So we do a lot of travel from our end too. So I'm not sure what points they may have covered that we wouldn't, but I'm not sure there are. I can't think of.
Okay, and you keep mentioning Big Ten cities. What cities are you working with?
I have colleagues who work with, I don't work with them, Santa Ana, as well as the city of Oakland.
Okay. And just one comment, I know we're going to have, as Kyle pointed out, an opportunity to meet with you and talk to you about what we're looking for. One thing that I think would be really helpful for us is a heads up on legislation coming through. We've created an item on the agenda for legislative update. So if you would work with staff and present things that are coming to us, because ultimately I think I'd like to take advantage of some of the advocacy trips and have Beaumont show more of a presence at the state level on some of these issues.
I would love to do that. And with my county clients where they have Board of Supervisor meetings every Tuesday morning, we do make sure that by Tuesday morning, the government affairs person there at the county has, what's gone on this week, what are we looking at?
Perfect.
And make sure they're prepped for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
And just to maybe just go back to we call it the onboarding process when we start working. And we've done it different ways, but often it's spending a whole day. And we bring several members of our team, because as I mentioned, many of us have different policy areas that we're sort of the point person on. So we'd have other members of the team join me, people who are doing water, who are doing some public safety perhaps, and sit down with staff, sometimes just one-on-one with the department head. But also we like it when the council can come in and participate as well, because we get to see some of the, the vision and what they're hearing in the community, et cetera.
Great, thank you.
Are you going to be in Sacramento on April 18th?
League Action Day.
Okay.
Yes.
Just wondering.
They always pick the busiest Wednesday of April for League Action Day, but yes.
Kyle, is there any question we should have asked but we didn't?
No, the only thing I would like to touch on, it's more of a clarification item on what the city manager touched on and what Councilmember White asked, which is the presence and what level we had with Tersh versus Townsend. And what we were looking at, what we had initial concern on is I wouldn't say like power presence there, it was more the personnel presence. So Townsend only has a couple staff members that are in DC at any given time. In Tersh, that's where their company was. They were housed in Washington, DC, that's where their office was. They didn't do work outside of DC, so that was our firm in Washington. So I called Richard and his colleagues and I said, okay, this is one of our concerns after the process. How is this going to work? And one of the things that we learned is that Townsend Public Affairs only represents California cities in Washington. So Tersh would represent cities from across the United States. So their manpower, womanpower in DC needed to be more robust because they're working on federal issues nationwide, where Townsend can be focused on what federal issues affect the state of California and the cities they already have under contract in California. And then the other thing that I learned is that when we have an advocacy meeting in Washington, a lot of times our public representative, like Richard, will be attending with our delegation in addition to the personnel that they already have in Washington. So they're not limited, or we as the city are not limited to the couple people they have in DC on any given day. We can pick and choose from the entire company on what personnel will go with us or support us at the state or national level. So I think that was more of a clarification item that made us feel a little bit more secure with the proposal moving forward.
Did you have a comment you wanted to make?
Well, it really was kind of the idea that we felt like we could get more customized with regard to what our specific needs and what the specific issues of our region are. And so then we can better focus into DC and be more efficient in making that outreach that's there.
I would agree. It's a much more targeting. I mean, we're not working on maybe a national issue that's going to have implications nationwide. It's like, how does it affect the city of Beaumont? And I think the example I used from the January Conference of Mayors, one of our newer clients at the time, is a group called the Tri-Valley Cities. And there's 3 valleys southeast of the Bay Area. And the Tri-Valley Cities is a kind of a JPA of 5 cities in that region. And their 5 mayors went back for that. It's kind of their first trip. So we had our 2 staff working with them. We had the client manager. We found that having the client manager like me go out with you, there's already, a personal relationship developed with council or staff when you go back. Makes it a little easier. You're introduced to the federal folks. And who knows, the next trip out, you likely were going to go and work with Laura and Zach directly because you've corresponded with them. You've met them in person. They picked you up at the airport in D.C. So I think that was the example I used.
Thank you.
I could talk.
Mayor, the only other things I have is to answer Councilmember Martinez's question about the advocacy trips. So all of their related expenses are included in the retainer.
That's where I was going.
So you're not going to see a first class ticket to DC where we're all in coach. and we're paying for their ticket. So we have to pay for our delegation and our room and board and our food. They're all on their own, but that's included in that $4,000 a month. And then to answer the mayor's question, whether question that I think was important is one that we asked during the interview, and it kind of touched on what Councilmember White was asking in terms of other clients that may have a conflict. And we directly asked the firm, what happens if the city of Beaumont wants to take a position on a bill or some legislation or a current issue that one of your other clients has already taken the opposite position on? And it doesn't happen very often, but just put that out there. So how are you going to choose which city's more important? Because we would hope it would be us. But what they said, and I haven't heard many firms say this, is if that happens, and it's never happened in their history, but if it does, and they already had taken a position with another client last year, they will pay for a lobbyist on our behalf to argue against them, and that doesn't cost us any extra money.
You'd have to hire a good one, though. Not a lousy one.
We know all the good ones.
Okay.
But yeah, I would echo, just even on a contentious issue such as SB 54 and sanctuary, there was not, I mean, we had some cities that were very much opposed, but councils are very diverse these days. There's not always going to be unanimity on any issue if there's sort of controversy involved. And it was never an issue of one was on this side and one was on the other. Many councils just, wasn't something they either wanted to tackle, wanted to go that far, or so yeah, never had to exercise it. So, and again, strength in numbers, working with the league. How could we all work together? Cities have more commonalities among them than differences. So, just let me know.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Rumor
No
has
more
it.
questions?
Rumor has it Mr. Harmon is a Bronco fan.
No. Should have said that after.
You should have waited for the vote. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Mayor-
sorry.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to award professional services agreement not to exceed $156,000 for state and federal lobbyist services and grant writing services to Townsend Public Affairs.
Do I have a second? I'll second it.
Councilmember Santos?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez?
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes. Thank you. Item 9. Economic Development Committee Business Visitation Program. Mr. Warsinski.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. If you don't like the title of the program, we can change that, but that was the one I came up with. So forgive me if it doesn't have a ringy tune to it. The committee's been working collaboratively and developing this new program to aid and expand the city's retention and expansion efforts for our local businesses. And the proposed program involves committee members actually going out and meeting with our local business managers or owners and performing visits to conduct interviews, really intended to gauge the different challenges, the successes, really the current climate and the mood of our local businesses, to figure out if they need assistance, if they do, what that assistance is, if they've even thought about assistance from the city or our partners, or if we should just stay out of their way. So that's really what we're looking to do on this visitation program. So the committee came up with the idea, and we're like, okay, well, let's not just take city council this vague idea. Let's actually put together the questionnaire. So we worked collaboratively, and everyone pitched in ideas that we put on paper, and then we pared down that long list of questions and ideas to the one that's been presented in front of you tonight. And really, we feel it's a good first initial glance at that business. It gets down to some nitty-gritty topics without making it a very intrusive process. So we hope that this would occur in maybe a 10 or 15-minute meeting with that business. And it's really a good grassroots effort for a data collection process needed to establish and implement a more robust or in-depth business retention and expansion program in the future. And the one things that, I mean, you can look through the series of questions. Some are yes or no, some have comment areas. one of the most important ones is the business requires immediate assistance. So a good example of that is if someone goes out there and they meet with a business and they're like, you know what, it's just not working here. We really want to stay, but we have lack of access to money, and we don't know how to get that. So because we don't, we're gonna close, or we're gonna move to another city. So hopefully the committee member is gonna check that big yes box that they're in need of immediate assistance. And we're setting up a program with the committee members that they don't just wait to the next committee meeting to let us know. They'll be bringing those ones in immediately and bringing them to either myself or Todd. And that way we as the city staff can go out and perform CPR if necessary on that business and get them in contact with the appropriate avenues to fix that problem, or if it just can't be done, at least we know we provided aid or an attempt to aid them versus just watching them walk out the door. So that's the proposed program. We're excited about it as staff. It'll be definitely an arm of what staff is currently doing, and hopefully City Council agrees with that and approves that and lets us kind of get to work and lets the committee members get to work. But by all means, it's a City Council program. This is one of those things that the committee came up with, that they can't just go out and do work themselves without getting the council's approval in terms of the concept and the substance. So that's why it's in front of you tonight. If you don't like anything, I will be sure to strike it. If you want to add anything, by all means, it's a living document, can be adjusted at any time. And I can answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? No. Questions from council? Councilmember Martinez?
A comment that I just want to emphasize that the EDC is not really going to be the problem solver here. The whole idea was for them to be the active listener, for them to come out and be that communication bridge between the city and the businesses, and not just give a questionnaire via email or phone, but to be that personal touch with the businesses. So we're going to listen, we're going to ask questions, and we'll take that feedback to the city staff so that it can be properly addressed. So I just want to make sure that we understand that we're not going to be out there trying to problem solve, because the committee's not qualified for that. So, I don't want that to be misrepresented. And we have a county rep on the EDC, I can't remember his name.
Mr. Moran.
That has a lot of resources that the county has that we can always pass along to a lot of the businesses as well, that might be able to help out. So it's not just a city alone type of tackle. So I just wanted to make those comments.
Councilmember Santos?
Yeah, like to comment on the, specifically on the questions of have you considered leaving Beaumont? Hopefully everybody say no. The only thing is, on my side, this is as a business person, to have a follow-up questions in there. Can you do or can you refer any businesses that relate to you or your business concern on that side? I always nice to have a other referral, or if they not really leaving, they're satisfied with our services and everything, because all your questions in here up here that cover that, but the thing is on down below, leaving Beaumont, I like to emphasize on that okay, you're not leaving. I know we have a questions in here. What do you need? Now, can you refer any businesses that will compromise or that will benefit you on that side? That's the thing that I like to comment on that. I don't know on the other side of the Chamber of Commerce. Probably there's a member on the committee, and I would like to see or to have a joint meeting with the Chamber of Commerce and see how they're gonna react, or what's their really a full plan on their Chamber of Commerce of how they do their marketing, how do they really attract new business in here, and their model. I haven't really I know I attended the their annual ball in there. But I haven't heard anything that would be nice to join meeting with us. I don't know how the council feel about that. And other than that, that's the only thing I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just
Councilman.
I got a question on his comment real quick, if that's all right. I just want to, you're not asking for us to talk to the chamber before we implement this, right? Just in the future, have a future meeting with them?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Oh. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember White?
I thought it was great until Mr. Santos brought up an issue. I'm not sure this is what you were asking, but I think it would also be helpful if we could ask the business owner if they are aware of any other businesses that are thinking about leaving Beaumont. Because they may be fine, but I'm sure, they might, a friend of theirs or another business might be thinking of leaving, and we can be a little more proactive that way.
There you go.
And that could be added right there to that question.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Good points. Councilmember Lott?
No, I've only been with the Economic Development Committee for a short time, but when they put this out, I thought it was a great idea to start getting some of the input. I don't think some businesses know what's available, and hopefully this will help open up that door.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. I think there's nothing better than that in-person, face-to-face. I think all the other paperwork in the world or messaging in the world, nothing beats the fact that you've taken the time and you've gone to a plan where you will actually come by and listen to what they have to say. So I think that part's excellent. I agree with all the comments on what you might be able to add to the questionnaire. The other thing is, I think there should be, I guess maybe visit notes or concerns is supposed to do this, but I would actually take it a little bit farther. I would ask them to define or to give input on what 3 things they would like to have the city prioritize for businesses. Sometimes in free form, you get a lot better answers because they have to start writing. And eventually, you really do get a flavor for how they feel. The other thing I would ask is, I'm not really sure about the process. I just need to review it again. You're going to send out the questionnaire, you're going to give them a period of time, and then you're going to go visit? Or you're going to get the questionnaire back and then go visit?
No, the idea is to not do a Survey Monkey thing or to send out questionnaires for a citywide survey, because the response rates on those are dismal at best.
I agree.
So the idea is to have committee members with multiple of these and to then go out and meet with local businesses. Now, when you walk in, the owner may not be there or the manager may not be there. So they're simply going to leave their contact information and schedule a follow-up interview time in which they will walk them through this in person and literally ask them these questions versus have them fill out this paper, which is an impersonal process.
Well, I want to say 2 things on that. One, for some businesses, they may want you to make an appointment to come see them. It depends on how busy they are. 2, I think sometimes it's hard to get people to fill out forms right as you're there. You might consider
the members filling this out.
Pardon me?
The EDC members.
They would be asking questions and then.
Oh, they're going to fill it out. You're going to sit there and
have a conversation.
Ask them to own up to if they plan on leaving the city in person with a smile on your face.
Absolutely.
Honestly, the brutal answer is it's better than what we're doing now, because right now no one's even asking the question.
Okay.
So we will literally not know they're leaving until they've already closed their door and it's too late.
All right.
Because we don't have staff to go meet with them, and if we were doing that,
Okay.
then we'd obviously
I
miss
think that's fine. I just wanted clarification on it.
Yeah.
But the other thing I would say is, from some things I've heard from the businesses, the city in the past has taken input and then done nothing. And that makes them madder than if you never ask for the input at all. So I think the Economic Development Committee should consider some sort of a follow-up where you say, thank you, and we'd like to come back to you in some period of time that you all consider and think about. But I think otherwise they've thrown the information at you, and where did it go? Did it ever come back? Did anybody ever listen?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of think there needs to be a period at the end of the sentence. So that's my input on that.
One more comment, Mayor. When I was on the Economic Development Committee, when this issue started to come to the surface, and I think what it does, and that's why I like the idea, was that it provides more relevancy to the committee. I mean, right now, we're having problems maintaining members on the Economic Development Committee, and I think part of it is because they didn't feel that there was a purpose or that they were that relevant. So I think that their ability to be able to meet face-to-face is going to send the message to the businesses that, hey, you can call up this committee member if you have any other issues. I think I like where you're going with this.
I'd like to ask one question of our audience members. We have one business owner in the audience. We don't normally make you contribute. Do you have any, what's your reaction to this whole discussion, Annie, if I could please?
To be honest with you, I didn't read this to know that he was going to talk about this tonight, and I think it's actually a really good idea. Being a business owner, I have several people coming to my shop all the time for everything that happens in our center, for the homeless, the neighbors, why Frugos is closed, I don't know, the new Anytime owners. So to actually have the city come and kind of care, because people know I come to the city council meetings and try to send questions with me, and I tag it every time I'm here and I put get involved. I'm not going to ask your questions for you. I will come and talk to you guys when I feel it's important enough, because when my voice needs to be heard, then I want it to not just be a voice that you hear every day. I want it to be something that's important. So to hear that they are coming up with this plan of coming to us, because I don't just have one business in town, I've got several. And it's not just one thing. You go from tanning to groceries to blankets to kids jumping in jumpers that I did spring fling on Saturday. So you go from one extreme to another. So I have all kinds of customers. They come to me for everything. I was just talking to TV today about a customer that had an incident. They come to me. So to actually hear that the city cares about what the businesses are dealing with and what we're going through on a daily basis. I mean, it is a struggle. It's not just a, hey guys, we're here. You know, we're not Best Buy. We're not Walmart. We're little moms and pop shops. And sometimes people feel that they don't care about the little shops, and we need to. So for them to come around or somebody to get involved with that, I think it's a really good idea.
Do you have any additions that you think would enhance this process?
I would rather look over it for a little bit longer and see, because I just grabbed the paper, so I don't have the extras that you guys are actually looking at. But that is one thing I thought already, like when I go home, I'm going to print it so I can have it to look. And I will actually already text somebody else and said I would probably be talking to Kyle afterwards. So, but we have so many, we're growing so much, and we need to know what's going to keep the people here, because everybody's complaining, oh, we're growing, but we're going to grow. So get over it. But I'd rather pay a moms and pop shop or, you know, and see what the community wants and other businesses want to keep us here. I'd rather know that than not know anything and then like, oh, why did they come? Why did we lose them and we get them? You know, let's see what other businesses think. I love actually working with the businesses next to me. I'm doing the Coachella Valley Police Dispatcher Appreciation Dinner on Thursday. And when the dispatchers call me and say, hey, Annie, I need some stuff, I run to the other businesses and, hey, I need this on this day, make sure we take care of them. And then, you know, I like to be able to work with them and say, we need to make sure we take care of these people. We need to work with these ones. We need to work with these people. So to have those other businesses around to help is nice. And when they do have questions and they come to you for answers, the person that actually went in my old salon over off of 6th Street, I think it's like a massage something. She came to me because it still said sensational tanning on it. She came to me before she went and signed up there because she's like, why did you leave? I see you're still in town, but why did you leave? And I had nothing negative to say. I mean, yeah, I didn't like the drugs going on across the street, but it was time for change, and nobody knew we were there because of the building location. And I explained to her the goods and the bads. You know, it's nice with the other neighbors, but I needed to move on, and I like being next to a gym, not next to Apex Urgent Care. You know, so it's easy. You can work better. NutriShop. I got, you know, they send the kids to Frugos or Starbucks while they're tanning. It's great. So it was, you know, and I discussed that all with that lady of this is why I left. I'm not leaving on bad terms. It was time for us to grow. So it wasn't that I was trying to say, don't go there, you know, because the old owner was a little crazy sometimes. But I didn't say that. I said, you know, it's good for what you're going to do. You've got a hair salon right there. Go for it. Try it out, you know, so. And even the farmer's guy, he just moved, but he came to me too, like, hey, what location do you think I'd be good at? You know, where do you think I should go? So it's nice to be able to work with other businesses and then to see that the city actually cares of what we're doing.
Thank you.
No
Thank
problem.
you for your input.
Question?
Oh, sure.
After all listen to the input from the other council members, I think maybe it might be a good idea to maybe have Kyle reach out to Annie and her business and maybe a couple other businesses with this questionnaire to see what they like and what they don't like and maybe what works for them, what doesn't work for them, so that we can maybe hone it down. Because business owners are busy, and I think if we can get in and get the information and then get out, so I'd like to maybe suggest that we do that.
Would you like me to do that before we go live with the program, or do you want to go live with the program and then amend?
I'd like to do that before we go live.
Perfect.
Just to get some input, and then, because we might change the questionnaire.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that you really do need to make sure you have a plan to wrap it up and reach back. And you're going to bring, after you do the survey, you're going to bring some sort of survey summary results to council, right?
That's the idea. Is we're definitely going to be doing that. My concept of what to do with a bunch of these things is if we have a lot of resounding results that say they really want to expand, but they have no clue how to find a workforce that's developed, or they want an internship program, but they don't know who to ask, is then we're going to see a resounding number, say 20 or 30 businesses that want to access that type of program. Then we're going to work on setting up that program for them here at City Hall with our partners, which might be Rob with Riverside County. It may be a bank if they need access to money. It may be one of the local universities if they need help on mentoring or research or things like that for their business. So there's multiple avenues we can help, but without figuring out what their needs are, it's very hard for us to set up a series of programs that provide that assistance.
You might end up with some sort of a business guidebook with resources by category afterwards.
Exactly.
Okay, very good.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to move to approve the Economic Development Committee Business Visitation Questionnaire and Program. And as a condition of my motion, I'd like for you to take direction and review that. But I don't think that you should need to come back to council to continue to move forward on this. So with your review with the Economic Development Committee, I think you should be able to move forward.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Santos?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez?
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes. Item 10, approve cooperative agreement for fire protection, fire prevention, rescue, and medical emergency services for the city of Beaumont.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, and city staff. Before we use a staff report recommending the approval of the said cooperative agreement for fire protection, etc. As you well know, the CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Department, through a cooperative contractual agreement, provides the city of Beaumont's fire services. The services provided primarily through Fire Stations 66 and a shared agreement with Fire Station 20. Housed within these two city fire stations are two first-line fire engines staffed full-time with a firefighter, paramedic, and a company officer. Attached to the staff report are two attachments. One contains the cooperative agreement covering the full range of fire protection, which includes both those costs and relative delivery mechanisms for Fire Station 66 and the shared agreements with Station 20. The City of Beaumont entered into a current agreement with the CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Department on July 1 of 2016, and that agreement expires on June 30th of 2018. The county now seeks to have all contracted cities on the same renewal cycle, and agreements will be for 3-year terms. The fiscal impacts are identified at the bottom of the staff report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Do we have public comment for this?
We do not.
All right, thank you. Could we get questions from council? Councilmember White, I'll start with you.
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Going to make it easier on you tonight. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the cooperative agreement with the County of Riverside for Fire Station 66 to provide fire protection, fire prevention, rescue, and medical emergency services to the City of Beaumont. And item 2, approve the cooperative agreement for shared services for Fire Station 20 to provide fire protection, fire prevention, rescue, and medical emergency services to the cities of Beaumont, Banning, County of Riverside, and CAL FIRE.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Santos?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez?
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes. Item 11, approval of CAL FIRE invoice for October to December 2017 services.
This is a routine quarterly payment or quarterly billing that we make in installments. In the past, we have included this with your consent agenda, but consistent with council direction where we have major invoices or major contract items to discuss that exceed $40,000, we want to, for transparency, be able to present this and have any questions answered. But this follows the current agreement that we have. You can see in the report that we are on budget. We have 2 more quarterly payments to make after this one, so this gets us through the first 6 months of the service year. So staff recommendation would be to accept and approve the payment of this invoice.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve the invoice as listed.
I'll second.
Councilmember Santos?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Lara?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez?
Yes.
Mayor Carroll?
Yes. Item 12?
Mayor, could we take a quick break? Maybe a quick 5-minute break?
Sure.
Thanks.
Let's take a 10-minute break, and we will come back at 8 p.m. Thank you.